According to neuroscience, there's only 4 ways you can read and remember anything. Only 4. That's it. Everything you have learned and remembered up to now, you have used one of those 4 methods. In this video, I'm going to explain you what those 4 ways are, and I'm going to give you specific methods for each one so you can remember everything you read. The first way is novelty. Your brain is constantly deciding what to hold on to and what to throw away. The first thing it flags as worth keeping is anything that feels new or surprising, something it hasn't seen before. Think about it this way. If you saw a completely weird animal you've never seen before, you'd remember it. You wouldn't have to try. You wouldn't have to reread it 5 times. It'd just stick, right? That's novelty. Your brain treats new information as important by default. The problem is, this one's mostly outside your control. Whether something feels novel depends on what you already know. If you are deep into a subject, almost nothing surprises you anymore, and that filter stops catching as much. So novelty is real, but we can't rely on it. The next 3 methods are the ones you can actually engineer. The second way is emotional relevance. Your brain holds on to things that triggered something in you, not just facts, experiences, moments, anything that made you feel something. And the reason is biological. When you have an emotional response to something, your brain releases neurotransmitters like epinephrine, dopamine, and those chemicals essentially signal to the brain, this matters, keep it. Think about the first time you touched a hot iron. You didn't need to revise that. You didn't need flashcards. You remembered it because it hit you, and your brain made sure you wouldn't forget. Now here's how you use this when you're reading. First, before you start reading anything, go to Google, search the topic, and click the News tab. Then spend 2 minutes skimming through news articles on what you're going to learn. You're not reading the articles deeply. You're looking for things that connect to something you already care about. Something happening in the world, something relevant to your life. Do this before you read, not after. It primes your brain to treat the material as relevant before it even encounters it. Second, as you're reading, actively ask yourself, where have I seen this before? How does this apply to something I'm actually dealing with? You're not waiting for the material to feel relevant. You're creating the relevance deliberately. That's the move. As I said earlier, when your brain releases neurotransmitters like epinephrine and dopamine, they strengthen your neural pathways and makes what you learn stick. Doing exercise, drinking caffeine, and having cold showers release these neurotransmitters. So if you are doing exercise, or drinking caffeine, or having cold showers, try doing those after studying rather than before. Those will help you to remember what you read more. The third way is repetition. And before you click off, I am not talking about rereading the same page 5 times. That kind of repetition barely works. Your brain gets familiar with the words, but it doesn't actually encode the knowledge any deeper. The kind of repetition that works is application. Every time you take what you have read and use it to solve a problem, to explain something, to connect it to a decision you are making, that counts as repetition. And it's a far stronger one because you are not just recognizing the material, you are retrieving it and doing something with it. So here's what this looks like in practice. Don't wait until you finish reading to apply what you learned. At the end of every paragraph, stop. Ask yourself, how would I actually use this? What problem does this solve? Where does it show up in real life? Then keep reading. That small habit, applied consistently, is active recall and spaced repetition rolled into one. And the more ways you apply the same idea, the more retrieval pathways your brain builds for it, which means it gets easier to access every time. The fourth way, and the most powerful way, is association. Your brain doesn't store information in isolation. It stores it in networks. The more connections a piece of information has to the things you already know, the more firmly it's embedded, and the easier it is to retrieve. When you read something and it just floats there, unconnected to anything, it passes through the filter. When you read something and immediately link it to 3 other things you know, your brain treats it as a part of existing structure. It holds. So as you're reading, you're looking for 2 things. 1. How does this connect to what I already know about the topic? 2. How does this connect to other things I've read in the same session? You're building a map, not collecting individual facts. And here's the thing, you can't do this effectively in your head, trying to hold a web of connections in your working memory while also reading new material is exactly the kind of thing that triggers cognitive overload. Your brain can't do both at once. So the most effective way to remember what you read using association is thinking on paper. It's one of those underrated methods top 1% use to remember everything they read. I've got a full video on exactly how to think on paper. Watch it here next.